Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, a love story that ended. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban were married for almost 20 years. Everyone thought they were the perfect couple. They smiled on red carpets and said sweet things about each other. But their fairy tale ended. When Nicole filed for divorce, fans were shocked. The truth was more complicated than anyone knew. Keith went on stage and sang songs that showed his pain. Nicole stayed quiet but strong. This wasn't just a divorce. It was about love, fame, and private fights that nobody could see. If you like stories like this, please hit like and subscribe. To understand how it ended, we need to go back to the beginning. Nicole's early life. Before Nicole became a famous actress, she was a shy little girl. She was born in Hawaii in 1967, but her parents were from Australia. Her dad was a smart scientist, and her mom was a nurse and teacher. When the family moved back to Australia, Nicole was very shy. She would turn red when teachers called on her in class. She was scared to talk in front of people, but she loved to use her imagination. She started taking ballet and drama classes. Acting helped her express her feelings. On stage, she didn't have to be shy, she could be anyone. When she was a teenager, people noticed her talent. At just 16 years old, she starred in a movie called BMX Bandits. Hollywood noticed her because she was tall, had pale skin, and beautiful eyes. Soon, she was starring in American movies. But fame wasn't easy. The shy girl who was once scared of classrooms was now on the biggest stages in the world. She was looking for love and a place to belong. Nicole and Tom Cruise. In the late 1980s, Nicole met Tom Cruise, one of the biggest movie stars in the world. They got married in 1990. Everyone loved them. They looked perfect together. But behind the smiles, things were hard. Tom was very involved in his religion, Scientology. This put pressure on their marriage. Nicole and Tom adopted two children, Isabella and Connor. But after they divorced in 2001, the children lived mostly with Tom. Nicole didn't see them as much, and this made her very sad. The end of her marriage to Tom hurt Nicole deeply. She carried this pain with her. When she met Keith later, she wanted to build a happy family again. Keith's early life. Keith Urban was born in New Zealand in 1967. His family moved to Australia when he was young. His dad loved country music, and Keith started playing guitar when he was only 6 years old. Life wasn't always easy for Keith's family. They struggled with money. Music became Keith's escape. As a teenager, he played in bars and talent shows. He dropped out of school to focus on music. It was his only dream. Keith became a star in America in 1999. With his good looks and amazing guitar skills, everyone loved him. But fame brought problems. He started drinking too much and using drugs. The more famous he got, the harder it was to control these habits. When he met Nicole in 2005, Keith had already been to rehab. He was fighting battles that most fans didn't know about. On stage, he was amazing. Behind the scenes, he was struggling. Nicole saw a man who was talented but hurting. She understood pain, and so did he. When they met, it felt like fate. How they met. Nicole and Keith met at a party in Los Angeles in January 2005. It was an event celebrating Australians in America. Nicole looked beautiful and elegant. Keith was there as a rising country music star. When they were introduced, Nicole wasn't sure he liked her. He was polite but quiet. He took her phone number but didn't call for months. When Keith finally called, something special happened. They started dating, and by the end of the year, Nicole was saying he had swept her off her feet. Nicole loved that Keith was different from Tom Cruise. Tom was very controlled and perfect. Keith was real, passionate, and raw. He wasn't perfect, and maybe that's why Nicole liked him. For Keith, Nicole represented success and stability. By 2005, it was clear they were in love. The press watched their every move. Two wounded souls who believed they had finally found happiness in each other. By 2006, they were ready to get married. The wedding. On June 25, 2006, Nicole and Keith got married in a beautiful church in Sydney, Australia. It was a fairy tale wedding. Nicole wore a gorgeous white dress with a long veil. Keith sang to her at the reception with his guitar. The photos were everywhere. Magazines called them the perfect couple. Nicole had found a man who loved her. Keith had found peace with one of the world's most famous actresses. For fans, their marriage proved that real love could win over pain. Nicole seemed to have found happiness after her heartbreak with Tom. Keith seemed to have found his anchor after fighting addiction. But fairy tales don't always last forever. Early problems. Just 4 months after their beautiful wedding, Keith checked himself into rehab for alcohol problems. This was in October 2006. For many couples, this would have been the end, but Nicole stood by him. The timing was terrible. They had just gotten married. The tabloids wrote mean stories, but Nicole refused to give up. She visited Keith during treatment and kept their struggle private. Keith later said Nicole saved his life. Her support kept him going. But some people said Nicole was trying too hard to be his healer. She couldn't save her marriage with Tom, and now she was trying to save Keith. The public thought they were so strong, proof that love could survive anything. But privately, a pattern was forming. Nicole became the caretaker. Keith was the one who needed saving. This worked for a while, but it came with a cost. Career and family life. After Keith's rehab, they both worked hard. Nicole kept making movies and won awards. Keith became one of country music's biggest stars, winning Grammys and selling out concerts. In public, they looked stronger than ever. Keith would cry talking about Nicole in interviews. Nicole said he brought her back to life. But behind the scenes, fame was taking its toll. The biggest problem was distance. Nicole was filming movies around the world. Keith was touring constantly. They tried to never be apart for more than a few weeks, but their schedules kept clashing. When they had their daughters, Sunday Rose in 2008 and Faith Margaret in 2010, Nicole focused hard on being a mom. She was determined not to lose her children like before. Keith loved his daughters too, but touring made it hard to be home. In public, they looked like the perfect family. Photos showed Nicole with the girls at airports while Keith carried luggage. They seemed united, but insiders said the pressure of balancing fame, family, and personal problems was slowly wearing them down. Living the fairy tale. Through the 2010s, Nicole and Keith looked perfect to the world. Red carpets, sweet speeches, and family photos made them look like Hollywood's best couple. Nicole said Keith brought her back to life. Keith cried with gratitude during award shows. But away from cameras, things were different. Nicole wanted stability and structure. Keith wanted freedom and spontaneity. These differences created quiet tensions. Friends said Nicole felt like she was carrying all the emotional weight. Keith felt like he was always being cast as the broken one who needed fixing. Nicole loved his vulnerability but worried it might destroy everything. Keith admired her strength but sometimes felt overshadowed. Parenting showed these differences too. Nicole wanted rules and structure to protect their daughters from fame. Keith was the fun, relaxed parent. Nicole sometimes felt undermined. Keith sometimes felt criticized. But the public saw none of this. On stage and in interviews, they stayed the golden couple. Every smile and touch reinforced the image. By the mid-2010s, those quiet cracks were getting harder to hide. Rumors start. By the mid-2010s, whispers about their marriage started spreading. Tabloids talked about clashing schedules and arguments. Paparazzi caught Nicole at events without Keith, or Keith touring without his wedding ring. Each time they responded calmly. Nicole told interviewers, "We've never been stronger." Keith called her his rock and the love of his life. On red carpets, they held hands tightly and smiled for cameras. For years, the denials worked. Fans wanted to believe them, but people close to the couple saw the effort behind the smiles. Nicole seemed tired. Keith sometimes bristled at always being seen as the one who needed saving. Observers noticed subtle changes. Nicole's smiles looked more rehearsed. Keith's declarations of love sounded like practiced lines. Their affection was real, but they were working harder and harder to keep the illusion alive. By 2023 and 2024, rumors reached a peak. Reports said they were living separate lives. Photos showed them at events alone, yet they still insisted they were united. But by 2025, the truth could no longer be hidden. The divorce. In September 2025, the rumors were confirmed. Nicole filed for divorce in Tennessee, ending their almost 20-year marriage. The document said irreconcilable differences. But behind those words was the weight of nearly 2 decades of love and struggle. According to news reports, Nicole and Keith had already been living apart before the filing. For fans who saw them as the golden couple, this was shocking. For Nicole, the decision was hard. Friends said she spent months struggling with the choice. She was torn between her commitment to family and her need to take care of herself. For years, she had been the stabilizer, the anchor. But in the end, she chose herself. The divorce papers showed Nicole requested primary custody of Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret. Keith would share decision-making. This made sense. Nicole's life centered around the girls, while Keith's touring schedule made daily parenting difficult. Both waived financial support, showing their finances had always been separate. Even with calm paperwork, the emotional fallout was loud. The world gasped. Fans felt disillusioned. Tabloids framed it as tragedy. But if Nicole's filing was calm, Keith's response was anything but subtle. Keith's onstage response. Days after the divorce news broke, Keith performed in Pennsylvania. This wasn't a normal concert. It became a raw look into his heartbreak. He appeared without his wedding ring. Fans knew something was different. During his song, "You'll Think of Me," he changed the lyrics. Instead of "Take your space and take your reasons," he sang, "Take your unreasonable reasons." Clips spread online. Many thought he was talking about Nicole. Even more telling, Keith left out "The Fighter," a 2016 song believed to be inspired by Nicole. The omission, combined with the changed lyric, showed Keith was rewriting his musical history. During Heart Like a Hometown, images of Keith with his daughters flashed on screen, a reminder that family was still important, even as his marriage ended. For audiences, the night felt like more than a concert. It was a confession. Every lyric change was analyzed online. Keith's music had become his most revealing statement. Nicole's quiet response. While Keith's response played out on stage, Nicole chose a different path. Instead of public displays, she let silence and subtle gestures tell her story. Weeks after filing, Nicole appeared at a film festival without her wedding ring. Her dress was elegant, but her expression carried quiet sadness. This was Nicole's way of handling heartbreak, through composure, not outbursts. Her focus shifted to her daughters. Paparazzi captured her walking hand in hand with Sunday and Faith through Nashville. Friends said she retreated into family life, determined not to let the divorce overshadow her daughter's stability. For Nicole, this carried echoes of the past. Her divorce from Tom had left her separated from Isabella and Connor. This time, she refused to let history repeat. She sought primary custody to ensure stability. Professionally, Nicole continued working. She appeared at events with her usual grace. The contrast between her appearances and Keith's on-stage confessions highlighted their different ways of processing loss. Nicole's silence became powerful. Where Keith's music shouted, her calm whispered resilience. She didn't need to change lyrics or make declarations. Her message was clear. She was moving forward with focus on her daughter's career and peace. That quiet strength may have spoken louder than any song. The final word. In the end, Nicole and Keith's story isn't just about a marriage that ended. It's about what it showed us. For nearly 20 years, they were Hollywood and Nashville's golden couple, a symbol of love conquering fame, distance, and addiction. For a long time, it looked like they did the impossible. But behind the smiles, they were two people shaped by past wounds, trying to heal each other while carrying their own scars. Nicole, hurt by losing her children in her first marriage, wanted stability. Keith, burdened by addiction, wanted freedom. Their love was real, but so were their differences, and over time those differences became too heavy. The divorce papers said irreconcilable differences, but the reality was more complex. It wasn't one fight that ended their marriage. It was years of imbalance and sacrifice that reached a breaking point. What makes their story compelling is the contrast in how they faced it. Keith turned his heartbreak into performance, pouring emotion into his music. Nicole responded with quiet strength, focusing on her daughters and moving forward with dignity. For fans, the end was bittersweet. It shattered the illusion of the perfect love story, but it reminded us that even the brightest stars are human. They struggle with the same things: love, loss, and finding balance. Perhaps the truest lesson is what Nicole once said: it's not about perfection, it's about showing up again and again. For almost 20 years, she and Keith did just that, but sometimes showing up isn't enough. Sometimes the greatest love stories don't end in happily ever after. They end in the quiet understanding that love, no matter how deep, isn't always enough to last forever. What do you think about their story? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, tap subscribe so you never miss our next story.